The goal of this video is to outline the assignment, the position statement for a public audience, as well as its accompanying statement of goals and choices. This is a video for English 1030 Composition and Rhetoric at Clemson University. This is Jacob Richter speaking. So the position statement for a public audience is a pretty interesting assignment. I'm very excited to teach this project. I've actually never taught this before. It's my first time. Typically with projects like this, I like to provide sample assignments for you all to reference and look at, but I'm not able to do that. You all are the guinea pigs. Just kidding. But anyways, so the final project for this course asks you to craft a position statement for a public audience, as you might have guessed. But what does this mean? A position statement is an argument that is backed up with evidence, with proof, with information, with outside sources, and ideally with sound reasoning. And importantly, a position statement is not an analytic report, it's not a description, and it's not a rhetorical analysis. It's brand new. We haven't done this yet this semester. It's an argument, and someone else can conceivably disagree with it. Indeed, many will, and that's okay. But so a position statement is where you make an argument. It's where you say something to the world, to society, to your culture, to the people around you. That could be, it's more of a conjecture. It's something that you believe to be true, but that is not a fact. It's something that someone else could conceivably disagree with, that someone could conceivably begin to refute. But so it's a public argument. And so you're making that argument to the public, so to a public audience. A public audience could be your local Clemson community, who you could be addressing in, say, an opinion article, an op-ed in the university's newspaper, such as the Tiger. A public audience could be Clemson University's president, James Clements, who you would be addressing in a letter. In that case, it's semi-public. You're writing to a public figure, in this case, who is the university president. A public audience could be a letter addressed to our class, could be a letter addressed to your high school or hometown community regarding some social or cultural issue. It could be an op-ed, a piece of writing that you're sending to a newspaper, such as the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. It could be an op-ed for a local newspaper. It could be a report to a public body, such as a government agency or a particular community or a particular group of people. It could be a blog post, a post to Medium, a letter to a public figure or to a celebrity requesting a particular action or response. It could be a document intended to be circulated on the internet. You must write and compose your project with a public audience in mind, but who that audience is up to you. The genre that your position statement project takes will reflect who your audience is and will reflect how you might want to address that audience to be as persuasive as possible. So you might choose between a newspaper op-ed, a letter to a public figure, a blog post, a report to a public commission or to a government agency, etc. You can be creative with that and you can make up your own. But moving forward, your position statement for a public audience project must, it's important to note, these are not all going to look exactly the same. That's part of this. Part of this is you're designing your own genre. If you're writing a report, your position statement project should look like a report. If you're writing a letter, it should look like a letter. Design is important here to some extent. But anyways, you should make a clear, direct argument about a social, cultural, or political issue. You should have a clear, direct, firm thesis statement, which we'll talk about moving forward in a week or two. Your position statement for a public audience project must be written in a style that is consistent with the genre that you are writing in. It should ideally be in 12-point font or 11-point font in Times New Roman, but beyond that, don't worry about formal, general academic formatting or design guidelines. For example, don't worry about a header here. You really want your project to look like its actual genre. Anyways, your position statement should contain an effective counterargument. You'll see a video at the end of this assignment prompt that has all of the ins and outs of writing academic counterarguments. But what's important is that you have to anticipate who's going to disagree with your argument and with your thesis. What are they going to say? And then importantly, you must refute that counterargument. You must explain what that person or group or point of view is missing, what they're not prioritizing enough, what they're not valuing enough. The research expectations for this project are relatively heavy. So it's going to have 6 total sources, including at least 4 academic journal articles or other scholarly or governmental resources. So 6 total sources, 2 of them should be popular. And just to be clear, you can have as many as you want. You just have to have 6 total in a works cited page. And 4 of them have to be scholarly. So they have to be either academic journal articles or from a scholarly book, or from a government report, a formal government report. Really, anything that has a works cited will probably meet this requirement, but if you're not sure, if you're confused about a source that you find, you should get in contact with me. That's your responsibility to make sure that it's scholarly. Your project should be between 3,000 and 3,500 words, unless you have a good reason to go longer or shorter that is explicitly mentioned in your statement of goals and choices document that you'll create. More on that in a second. And then finally, you should have a 700 to 1,000 word statement of goals and choices attached to your Canvas submission. Just put it right in with your main project. You'll see in just a moment what I mean when I say a statement of goals and choices. Some example position statements for a public audience projects that you might be interested in. And again, you should design your own project. Don't take one of these, or you can, but it's not fun if you just take one of these that I came up with. Make your own, but follow this format to some extent. So you might write an op-ed to Clemson's newspaper, The Tiger, or a different newspaper, arguing for some issue of social or political importance. For instance, you might write an op-ed to The Tiger, Clemson University's newspaper, persuading college students to vote in higher numbers, or arguing to the Clemson community that they should invest more heavily in public transportation. You might write a letter to Clemson University President Jim Clements requesting more accessibility, such as ramps and parking spots for people with disabilities on Clemson's campus. You might write a report to the South Carolina Environmental Law Project on the viability of solar panel installations in South Carolina's upstate region. You might write a report to the Clemson University student government arguing that the university should try much harder to become more racially diverse in its student population. You could write an op-ed to a newspaper, to a blog on private prisons, on the Electoral College, on universal basic income, on the death penalty, on immigration reform, on Supreme Court reform, any issue that you find to be of social, cultural, or political importance. And there are a couple of other examples there concerning parking, the potential of a report to the city of Clemson, a letter on electric cars, a letter to a politician asking them to change their stance or perspective on some issue, policy, or law that is important to you and important to society, say to South Carolina or to your home state or to the nation. Or a letter to a celebrity could work in the right case. But design your own and have fun with this. But anyways, so you'll have to consider the following questions, such as who is your audience? Questions such as what do you want your audience to believe or do in response to the issue that you are discussing? Questions such as what is your audience's current relationship to this issue? What objections might your audience have to your argument, and how can you address those objections? And then finally, what kind of information do you need to convey? So just to be crystal clear, I'm not asking you to actually send these documents out to their intended audiences. If you're writing a letter to Robin Williams, you don't actually have to send it to Robin Williams. If you write a letter to South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, you do not have to actually send that letter. You are just pretending that you are. Anyways, so in the assignment prompt, there is a video that you can watch on writing academic counterarguments, and then also a video on performing academic research at Clemson University, which you'll have to do. You'll have to go into the databases just like you've done for previous projects. But anyways, you have a rubric listed here for your position statement for a public audience. So you'll be graded 20%, just how I've done every project so far. 20% based upon your argument and on your thesis statement. Look for more on thesis statements soon. You'll be graded 20% based upon your scholarly research. To what extent does your project demonstrate scholarly research skills as well as the research skills demanded by the assignment? You'll be graded 20% on the anticipation and refutation of a counterargument. Emphasis on refuting the counterargument. It's not enough to just say, Group X will disagree with me on points X, Y, and Z. You have to explain how that group is misjudging the situation, what they're not considering, what they're not valuing enough, why they're wrong. You have to refute the counterargument. Finally, you'll be graded 20% based upon your scholarly ethos. That is formatting, that is genre, that is having a works cited page in MLA and in-text citations, skills that you already have that you've demonstrated in previous projects. But are there issues that could conceivably confuse or distract your reader? You don't want that. That works against your persuasive goals. And then finally, 20% will be your statement of goals and choices, which I will finally explain now because I've been referencing it throughout this video. It's finally here. I know you've been on the edge of your seats waiting for this. The Statement of Goals and Choices is a short memo that's going to accompany your primary submission, your position statement. The Statement of Goals and Choices is a short document. It's going to be 700 to 1,000 words, roughly 2 pages. 2 pages is the goal. The Statement of Goals and Choices is exactly what it sounds like. It is a statement of your goals and of your choices. So I've listed a bunch of questions here. You don't have to answer all of them. You're not going to be able to answer all of them, but answer the ones that are interesting or compelling for you and for your project. So these questions are obviously going to concern your goals and choices that you made and that you were striving for throughout the project. It should describe some of your rhetorical strategies for your position statement, some of your choices, some of the decisions that you faced, and some of the intended rhetorical effects on your audience. You might answer questions such as, what were your primary goals in this project, and how do specific choices that you've made, you should name them, help to accomplish these goals? Why did you choose the genre and format that you chose? How did you account for disagreement in the form of a counterargument? What did your research tell you about your issue? And finally, how did you cater your writing to your audience of choice? Again, you don't have to answer all of those, but answer the ones that are interesting and compelling and important for you in detail matters in the Statement of Goals and Choices. Be as specific and detailed as is possible. So you have a timeline for this project listed right here. If I can ever help you in any way, please help me to do that. Let me do that. I am in office hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You have the Zoom link right here. That should be it, I believe. Good luck on this project, and I'm rooting for you all. Get in touch with me if you want help, or if I can assist in any way. My email is jdrich@g.clemson.edu. Good luck.